Hello and welcome to today's WorkSafe Month webinar, Become a Calming Influence Inside the Chaos. I'm Stephanie Morawski from WorkSafe Tasmania and I will be your moderator. Before we start, please take a moment to read the following slide about information received today. I will now go over housekeeping. Here is a screenshot of the attendee control panel. You should see something that looks like this on the right hand of your screen. You're likely listening in using your computer's speaker system by default. If you would prefer to listen over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. Webcams and audience microphones will not be used in today's webinar. Questions will be taken at the end of today's presentation. If you would like to write your questions down at the time, please do. Then at the end, please submit your questions via the questions pane on your control panel. Finally, today's webinar is being recorded. I would now like to introduce today's presenter, Gaz Mills, Founding Director of Garry Mills Peak Performance. Gaz was a bodyguard for the Australian Prime Minister and other world leaders, leading complex operations in Australia and overseas. His mixed bag of experience and expertise includes police officer, public sector executive, specialist police trainer, Team Australia athlete in an international TV series, radio presenter and Ironman. Gaz combines neuroscience, research, lived experiences and storytelling to improve the leadership performance and well-being of people, teams, organisations and communities. His clients include executives, professional athletes, small businesses, teams and organisations. Gaz is also a Beyond Blue speaker, sharing his lived experience to help people in need. Welcome, Gaz.
Thanks very much, Stephanie, and it's great to be back with WorkSafe Tasmania again this year. Last year I was obviously over there in person and got to meet a lot of fabulous people, and been a few things happened this year. So, but you know, look, it's great that you're reaching so many people with these webinars and other training. Yeah, look, I'll do a brief introduction because honestly, we've got about 45 minutes to get through this presentation before we open up for questions at the end. And you hit there on about my Beyond Blue speaking role, and that comes from my own battle for many years with depression. I was diagnosed back in 2012 after you know, it was a pretty turbulent few years leading up to that, and I hit rock bottom and have been overwhelmed for far too long. So I've been looking into this, the mental health and the stress management and all that sort of thing has taken a big part of my life, understanding what's going on and how I can improve myself and other people. And for me, it's a two-pronged approach to my mental health and well-being, which includes the managing the stress and the things that scare me. You know, we've all got things that we don't do because we're threatened or we have fear by it. And I think I've been able to break it down into two separate parts has been really important for my own development, and certainly being a much calmer person and being more in control of my emotions and stress and things like that. And this was only reinforced to me in the last few weeks. On one side of the fence, I've got my mental illness, which is depression, and for that I need my doctor. I need to go and see my doctor when I'm not feeling very good, and because for me, because it's a genetic or chemical imbalance, I need medication to help me. So that's one side of the fence for me with managing mental health and being a calmer person. But the other side of that, which is what we're going to talk about more today, is the stress management, the anxiety we feel when it's not an illness, where we're threatened by things and we're in the workplace, we're under pressure, we're trying to manage things, we don't know where to turn to next. They're the things that we're going to be talking about today, because managing that intensity is really, really important. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a mental illness or not. If you can't manage your stress, if you can't become a bit calmer and learn how to control your emotions and things like that, we all quickly become trapped in a place where it's not a very nice place to be. And I'm sure a lot of you there have experienced that and perhaps experiencing it now. And if you're not, I'm sure you know people who are. So when it comes to my mental health and managing the stress, it comes down to managing the intensity, how much our emotions affect us, how much our thoughts and feelings take over. So the emotions happen, then we have a thought and a feeling, and then our behaviours follow that. And when stress is a bit out of control, it becomes very difficult to make good decisions and think clearly. And you know, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And some of the things I'll be talking about today with you is trying to get that balance right for the long term, not just the quick fixes and the ongoing coping mechanisms that we might have, but how can we build a longer term approach to changing the way we think and feel about experiences in our life so we can actually manage our stress a bit better. So let's have a look at what's on the agenda. Okay, so we're going to focus on becoming a calming influence inside the chaos. I'm going to talk about some mental skills. It's going to be a bit of humour here. I hope you brought your sense of humour along. I haven't got any dad jokes. Hopefully they're a bit higher quality than that. You're going to see a few artistic masterpieces, according to me anyway. We're going to have some polls and activities. At the end, I'll show you some mental health and wellbeing resources, which will not only help you with this calming influence approach, but also if you do want to understand more or get help with your mental health and wellbeing, there's some great resources out there, and there's some specific ones that I'll point out to you. I'm going to recommend a couple of books for you, which have really helped me, and there may even be a little bit of controversy because, you know, that's just, I like questioning things and looking at things from different perspectives, and you know, maybe even going against the norm a little bit. So yeah, hopefully we can get those, because controversy also gets us thinking about things in another way as well. So it's pretty good stuff. So if we look at what we're looking for in our workplaces, I'm just going to show you a number of things which, according to research by places like Beyond Blue and even Google, I've looked at some of the things that are really important for people to be engaged and healthy and well and enjoy their work. So I think we've got about 14 or 15 different elements there, and yeah, just want you to have a quick look through those, because what we're going to do in a moment, Stephanie's going to throw up a poll in a moment, and you're going to have 4 options there, and I just love you to jump in. You're going to have about 20 seconds once the poll pops up, and just have a think about how many of those actually meet your expectations in your workplace at the moment, so we can get a bit of a baseline or foundation about where we're all at. We've got about 150 people online at the moment, so it'd be really good to get an idea. So Stephanie, if you want to throw that poll up.
All right, thanks, Gary. So I've launched the poll.
Thank you. So just clicking there, whichever one was sort of connected with you, and we'll get a bit of an idea.
So we'll close the poll shortly.
Thanks, Stephanie. And then we'll get the results and we can all have a look at where we're at. See everybody in 10 to 14, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
All right, thanks, Gary. So we'll now close the poll and I'll share the results.
Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of a spread there, more so around the middle between the 4 and 9, particularly 7 to 9. We've got a few there, which is great. 41%, that's a really good sign. But we've also got we got 19% in the 10 to 14. Fantastic. Just let everyone know where you work. I'm sure everybody will want to come and work with you. And then we've got 40% though who are 6 and below. So that's quite a, out of the 14, that's quite a low percentage if you think about it as being what's that? 40% is what, 1 in 3? No, not even that. 1 in 2.5 bodies are experiencing 6 or less. I wasn't very good at mathematics. I had to think about that for a moment. And so hopefully the people who are in the 0 to 6 and even the 7 to 9, we can look at a few things that are hopefully going to help us bump us up a little bit, and you can maybe even not only help yourself become a bit calmer and learn some strategies, but also help those people around you, because emotions are contagious, and the more we spread this calming influence, the better off we're going to be, and obviously appreciating there's a lot of challenges out there. So thanks for that, Stephanie. You can close that and go back to the slide. Okay, so let's have a look at there we go. Sometimes I have to press the button twice. My computer must be getting pretty old. So in the opening, in the summary of the course, you would have seen awareness, intent, and action was a key part of it. And in my mind, awareness, we've got plenty of awareness going around. We all know mental health is an issue. We all know that high stress is an issue. Our awareness is almost overwhelmed with social media, the news, current affairs, all the emails we get overloaded, the office gossip, advertising, list goes on. We're just overwhelmed with this information. So it's hard to unpack what's relevant and what's not relevant sometimes, and what's helpful, what's a distraction. There's plenty of distractions out there which take up the space in our head. You know, we haven't got an unlimited short-term memory. We haven't got an unlimited conscious thoughts, so we get distracted by all these things, and we can get quickly overwhelmed and start to lose sense about what's important, and even the truth. What's the truth? What's a version of the truth? Or what's a downright lie? You know, there's plenty of examples out there we see which probably frustrate us a little bit. So the thing with awareness is we know it's out there, we know high stress, but why is there still so much unacceptable levels of workplace stress in the workplace? It's not just COVID. This sort of stuff has been around a lot longer than COVID. It certainly had an impact, but it's not the only reason. And why is our mental health and well-being being affected so much too? Why is that on the rise? Again, COVID has an impact, but it's not the only thing out there. And why there's so many workplaces and decision makers who do little or nothing that makes a real difference in supporting our mental health and well-being in the workplace. Is it just because they know stuff but they don't know what to do with it? Is it lack of time? There's plenty of reasons. We're not going to go into that, but certainly there's things out there that are not working. So to bridge this gap, we need to bring it together with understanding. So understanding is the real currency. That's what bridges the gap. So when you think about understanding, you know something, but until you actually understand it, it really limits you on what you can think about and what you can do with it. So understanding, it's like when something clicks, we get it. We build ideas. It takes us deeper into what we're thinking about. We see more linkages, we see connections, and ultimately we find solutions. So what we're doing is we're firing up those brain connections with deeper learning, and so that makes the existing connections stronger as well, and that builds that understanding, so we can actually start to unpack things a bit more, and rather than just knowing stuff. I mean, we all know stuff. You only have to go on Google and you can know everything pretty much under the sun, but it doesn't mean you understand it. And mental health and managing your stress is no different. So we need to move beyond our bubble to be a calmer influence. Now, I've got no idea what's going on in this photo here. We've got a bubble, we've got an alligator or a crocodile in the water, and then obviously somebody who looks quite distressed. But at the end of the day, this person's in their bubble. I'd be probably staying in there with the crocodile in there. But the thing I'm talking about here is when we know stuff, it's egocentric. And I don't mean to be critical of being egocentric. It's our innate human trait is to be egocentric, to see the world as we see it, to be a bit self-centered. So knowing is egocentric. I know this stuff, that's all I need to know. Whereas understanding, in my mind, is altruistic, which means we're actually expanding beyond our own bubble to understand other people, to understand other people's points of view, because it's not the world according to you, and you're never going to be a calmer influence on other people if you don't start to see things from other people's points of view. What are their perspectives? What are their experiences? And what are they worried about? Sometimes we need to be a bit selfish, don't get me wrong, because we need to self-care, we need to make time for us, and we sometimes we need to say no. So egocentric isn't all bad, but it's just if that's our default program, that's where it's self-centered and selfish. And the other thing with living in a bubble is when we're egocentric, is that we tend to, it can be a sign that we're in survival mode. So when your emotions are getting hold of you, you see threats around you, and at the end of the day, we resort back to that protection, putting up those barriers. So it's a human trait again when we feel threatened. So if we've got lots of stress, it means we're threatened. We're feeling things that we fear or we see might hurt us. Whether that might be someone you don't get on with in the workplace, too much work, not enough direction, all those things that happen in the workplace. We go into survival mode, cortisol levels go up, we get more stressed and we withdraw into ourselves. So that's the egocentric side of it, so another side of it. And we know from humility, if we look at altruistic, humility actually, from the research, the generosity has an good effect on all of us. When I'm generous to somebody, they feel good and I actually feel good. It brings out good chemicals in our body. So when we start to get outside ourselves and help other people, we all experience this sense of calmness because we're actually showing that we actually care about somebody, and that can be really helpful for lowering our stress levels. So understanding helps create a calmer mind for richer thinking and greater pro-social behaviour. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's not all about me. We activate the prefrontal cortex in our brain because we're actually thinking with that part of the brain, and that helps regulate our emotions, which trigger stress responses. And richer thinking allows us to think of other perspectives and ideas, be more creative and new ways of doing things. Breaks the cycle of the way we've always thought the world is and the way we've felt about it. And by doing that, we're able to then have that more awareness of ourselves, but also start to break down some of those barriers which impact our pro-social behaviour. We're more open. We have empathy and we're genuine about the way we approach our relationships. We share the good with the bad and we're honest about it. And these are all great things for creating a calming impact on us and the people around us. And when we talk about perspectives, I mean, there we go. Everyone's got their point of view. There's the same situation. We've got 3 different glasses of yellow liquid. I think you know what it is. One's half full, one's half empty, and one thinks it's pee. They're probably all right, but and maybe none of them are wrong. But at the end of the day, there's three things with different perspectives about the same thing. So remembering that's everywhere within our workplaces, everyone we interact with. We need to if we keep that open mind that it's not the world according to you, it helps us get out of our bubble of insecurity, but also helps bring people into our bubble or helps make those connections that help us be calmer. Okay, so this is where the artistic masterpieces begin. So this is my view of life. Life happens in life. So we've got birth and death there. We've all been born. We're living at the moment, and one day we're going to die. So that's life. And then life happens is all the stuff that happens to us during life. So we can think about these dots and these peaks as milestones, as significant experiences. They could be good experiences. They could be bad experiences. Could be failures, could be things that really affect us. But at the end of the day, we go through life and all these things are going to happen to us. And then at the end of the day, we go and have a sleep for a long time. So this is what simply this is explaining. Everyone's graph's going to be different, obviously, but this is the point of this. And I'll actually bring this up again to a bit later to actually show you why this is relevant. Okay, so this is how I break down this stuff around. I'll talk about managing our emotions and our thoughts and feelings and behaviours. So life happens. So we go back to that graph. Life happens. You lose your job. Your boss doesn't like you. You're no good at writing briefs. Your customer, you just lost your best customer. You just got your best customer. All these things happen to us, and at the end of the day, they create an intensity in our inside us, which is our emotions, thoughts, feelings, and behaviours, which is the first step. And then that intensity will create an impact on us. And I've got 4 examples there: the well-being, the health, the performance, and relationships. So that's going to have an impact on us depending on how that intensity is. How high is it? How low is it? It's going to vary for different things, and it might even vary depending on how you're running generally during the day. I mean, things are going to worry you more at one stage than they are maybe the next day. It just depends. But what we see also is the impact. It reverses on itself. So when my well-being or health, performance, or relationships are impacted, my emotions and my feelings can become more intense, or my thoughts, I can start getting more worried, I can get feeling more anxiety or anxious or depressed or maybe happy. It's not all bad, don't get me wrong, it's just an emotion. And you know, I might be doing really well in my performance and suddenly I feel great, or I might be doing really badly and get a bad feedback review, and suddenly I've gone down in the dumps, and then it just cycles back and builds on the impact again. My performance drops even more because I'm not actually managing the intensity. And we've also got the other return from the impact, which is back to life happens. So how we respond to things in our life and how they affect us is going to impact our life in general. If I'm afraid of putting my hand up in a meeting, or I'm afraid of presenting, or I do really badly in interviews, that's going to affect what happens in my life, because I may not get a promotion. I may never share the knowledge that I have, which is really powerful, but no one will ever know because I'm too scared to get up in front of people. There's a lot of examples there, but at the end of the day, the impact, whether it's really good or really bad or indifferent, is going to affect your life. And then we just see it just cycles back on itself. So this is the way I understand how this all works. You know, I've been thinking about this sort of stuff for a long time and creating this stuff, and this really makes sense to me, and I hope it sort of provides some sort of clarity for you as well. And this is when we get into the what's happening. So I've put a couple of little heads there because obviously I'm conscious. If you get to know me, you probably you know that I'm not afraid of using this word. But I'm conscious there's a lot of different, you know, some of you out there might not appreciate it. So I'm going to call it stuff. So this is where we have stuff to give, so our care factor. And the right-hand barrel there is what we've given. So if I really care about something, or something really annoys me, I've given away the care factor. So and then it's recycling back. So this bottom one down the bottom here, that represents recycling. So we care about something, we give focus, attention, energy, our emotion gets tied up by something. So we're giving something out, and then it's got to recycle, because in my mind, we know decision fatigue from neuroscience is a real thing. So we run out of the ability to make good decisions. No, that's a limitation on our brain before it recharges. And I see this as the same thing for this, is that we have only so many care factors to give. I'll use again. And at the end of the day, if we keep giving them away and we don't return them, we're going to run out of them, because we just run out of energy, and we're that caught up in the different things that we just don't have the capacity to care anymore, or even know what we're caring about. And I'll break this down into so that's managing it. So when we've got that cycle open, that means we're managing it. When we're not managing it, so this is like almost like a short-term impact. This can happen in milliseconds, particularly if we're threatened. We can suddenly have all our focus and energy and intensity on a particular situation, and it just takes a moment to take it all away, and we just don't have any capacity left to devote any more care factors to give. So it really cuts down on our ability to cope. Where our emotions are that intense that we're not managing it anymore. It's all been given out, and we don't have anything left over to manage the situation, and it ends up being empty. We don't have anything in reserve. So when when we're running at high levels on the given side, the right-hand side of that, if something else happens to us, we've got nothing else left to give. We're tipping point, our stress levels are through the roof, and suddenly the danger is that we tip over. And it's the same as the next slide as well. This is more the longer term stuff where we let stuff build up over time. So this is where we get really emotional, or we get really connected to things, but we don't let it go. So someone might do something to you at work. They might speak to you. You might get a report not back. Your decision might not be accepted. You might have not been promoted 2 years ago and you're still holding on to it. Whatever it is, we hold on to it. We don't let it go. We don't process it. We don't deal with it. So then all of a sudden, we're not recycling anything back. And again, we just become so overwhelmed because we're holding on to these strong emotions that we're just not letting go of. And even if you're hiding them away, they're going to be building up in your body somewhere. So that's that. So to become a calming influence, what does it actually look like with this graph? Well, the lines there that I've put there is the average intensity over your lifetime. So you can see there it's pretty high, and I'll compare that to one where it's much lower. So what we're looking at here, our intensity is going to go up and down, but like anything, that's the law of averages. If we have better strategies and skills to limit the intensity, maybe the level of intensity or the time we're dealing with stress, because chronic stress is bad for our health and well-being. But if we actually minimise that over the long term, it's actually we're going to, these things over our lifetime, the same things are going to happen, but they're actually going to impact us less. Okay, so that's the point of that. And hopefully you see the connection there between the intensity and how these things impact you. So what we might do now, we're going to do a little activity to sort of unpack that a little bit. And this is what I call your give a stuff list. So these are the things that you feel about the intensity. What things actually do you get intensity out of? What drives your emotions? You know, I've got some examples there just as an idea, and they can be small. They don't have to be big things, like people leaving the office kitchen messy might ramp you through the roof. You might get out of control and start throwing dishes and yelling at people, and I don't know, or your boss doesn't listen to your advice or your opinion. That might be a 4. These are just examples. So 1's low, you'll see the thing down the bottom there. What I want you to do is hopefully you've got a pad and paper. Just going to spend the next couple of minutes or so. I just want you to look at that list and write down your list. You can write down 3, 4, 5, you might get 10 out, whatever it is. We'll spend a couple of minutes now. And I'm just going to play a little bit of music in the background, which hopefully might give you some motivation about what we should really care about. It's called Pete the Cat Who Loves His White Shoes.
Pete the cat was walking down the street in his brand new white shoes. Pete loved his white shoes so much, he sang this song. I love my white shoes. 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 Oh, no. Pete stepped in a large pile of strawberries. What color did it turn his shoes? Red. Did Pete cry? Goodness, no. He kept walking along and singing his song. I love my red shoes. My red shoes. I love my red shoes. I love my red shoes. I love my red. Oh, no.
Okay, so that was Pete standing in blue this time. It was blueberry, so he's got blue shoes. So that's just a little activity, and I actually work with some clients, and some of the clients I work with actually find this really useful, because what it is, it's actually unpacking the things that are stresses for you. It's impacting what's important to you, and then you're actually able to look at it and go, well, actually, am I paying too much attention to this? Is this really an issue at all, or am I just caught in this bubble of these little things that drive me crazy. And as I said, you know, we run out of things to care about. And sometimes if we care about all the, care too much about all these minor little inconveniences that we might have in life, we can give up, we can stop caring about the things that really matter. That can be our relationships, it can be our finances, it can be our health, it can be our sport pursuits, you know, all these things, and they impact our mental health. So I really encourage you just to have a play around that with your own time, and just see where it takes you, and use it as a greater understanding of where you're at the moment. And so why does this matter to you? Well, there's obviously a benefit to you in your workplace. And we go back to this managing, where we're recycling the care factors we give. This is another artistic masterpiece, and another way that I try to explain my view on how we manage this is that, and what the value is we look at the intensity, impact, and how much we've got in reserve. So that's the left bucket. So if we've got low intensity, there's that calming influence. We've got about 40% in reserve. Might be 30, might be 35, might be 80. It's irrelevant. All it is we've got more in reserve because we're actually managing our emotions and everything a lot better. Medium, we might be coping. Coping is a great strategy, but I know from my own experiences, when we have coping strategies, that's great for us, but it's how much we have left over to be able to actually then be a calming influence on other people. High, we feel like we're stuck. We're not moving anywhere. We've got little in reserve. We're sinking. I'm just treading above water. Very little in reserve. And then we get to this stage where we're overwhelmed, and I've been there, and you feel like you've got nothing in reserve. You've got nothing left to give, and you just collapse into a heap. And if we talk about this in another way, it's got this diagram. So the intensity and impact is shown with these little stick figures, and it's the same thing. It's the overwhelmed, the sinking, the stuck, the coping, and calming influence. So calming influence, yeah, we still put up with the crap in our life and that sort of thing, but it affects us a lot less. So we might just flick it off our shoes when we step in it, instead of all the other stuff when we're overwhelmed by it. So this is the benefit to us for being a calming influence. And I think we're going to do another poll now. If you chuck it up, Stephanie, and just have a bit of a, I just want you to work out where you are at the moment, and we'll have a look at it. So overwhelmed, sinking, stuck, coping, or a calming influence. Where do you think you are at the moment on average? Obviously, it's going to change day to day with the feeling, but it'd be good to know sort of where everyone's at from an average perspective. So just jump in there, and Stephanie will take over that.
All right, so everyone please select a response.
And don't overthink it. Be as honest as you can be. No one's going to know what you put down.
We'll close the poll in a few moments. Okay, I'll close it, Garry, and share the results.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Okay, so we've got quite a spread there. We've got a lot of people who are coping, which is a good sign for your own personal mental health and well-being, which is great. But obviously, coping takes a lot of effort as well. But we've got a few up there in calming influence. That's great. But we also see there's quite a few of you are stuck, and then 10% are either overwhelmed or sinking. So even if it's 1%, 0.5% of overwhelmed or sinking, that's still an issue, because that's a human being, one of you out there, a few of you out there who are experiencing this challenge. So, you know, 2% is probably around, you know, it's a number that we'd like to see get up, and hopefully this stuff helps you. And sinking and stuck, exactly the same thing. I've been in all these situations, and as I said earlier at the opening, is the calming influence is the one that really helps me outside of my own mental health illness and the things, these sort of strategies. But you can close that now, Stephanie, please. So let's look at another way that we can start to manage our emotions. So we're going to do another quick activity when the slide decides to move. I see that. Is that poll still back up on you, Stephanie?
No, it's not, Gary. They should have the next slide up. Oh, actually, sorry, it is. My apologies.
Oh, that's all right. Okay, so emotion labelling. Let's have a little talk about this, another little exercise. So neuroscience and a lot of research tells us when we label an emotion, it actually helps us lower the intensity of that emotion. So it's an emotion regulation strategy. You can write it, you can speak it, you can think it. But one of the what it does is it engages your prefrontal cortex, and which is the rational logic executive function of your brain, and it helps manage the emotional response and lower your distress and stress. And David Rock, who's a neuroscientist, says that we describe an emotion in a word or two and it helps reduce the emotion. But we don't have a conversation with it. Like the example, there's someone I trust at work lied to me. I'm angry and hurt. I don't get into a discussion around I shouldn't be angry and hurt, or why am I angry and hurt. So when we start to have these dialogues, we tend to increase the emotion. So what I'll get you to do is just spend a couple of minutes on, or a minute and a half on unpacking this and just thinking about something that you care about and how do you feel about it. So it might be something that's really good, or it might be something that you're angry and hurt or frustrated about. So I'm just going to play a little emotion song in the background and leave you for the next minute and a half. Okay, so that's the end of If You're Happy by Super Simple Songs, thanks to YouTube. Yeah, so I hope that you've been able to unpack a few things. I'd be interested if anyone wants to share anything at the end of the session during the questions. But again, I use this technique with my clients and they find this helps them a lot. But I also use it myself because we try and overanalyze things sometimes when we just want to label an emotion. And one of the things about emotions is they're neither good nor bad, they're just an emotion, and sometimes they're more helpful than other times. Okay, so I just want to talk about some of the things that we try to do to get us out of the pickle we might be in. You know, we might be in a mindset, or we might be feeling or thinking something, and we're really struggling. And there's a lot of motivational comments out there, but you know, I've got to say a lot of them are just rubbish in my mind. They're what I call motivational cliches. I mean, if you look at the first one there, train your mind to see the good in every situation. Well, sometimes there is no good, and if we can't find any good in it, we might we start to feel even worse, or we can feel even worse because well, there should be something good, but I can't see it, and all of a sudden you're being even harder on yourself. Now, the second one, cleanse your mind of all the bad vibes and let the good vibes flow in. Well, to me, that sounds like a chorus from a Black Eyed Peas song, and again, that really doesn't help us when we're really struggling, because it's not enough to just read these motivational cliches. And the third one, we don't always have a choice to be happy. That's, if only it was that easy. We're always told we have a choice, but sometimes you don't, and it might be your mental health is suffering, or just because of the circumstance. It's, well, there's nothing to be happy about with this particular thing. I'm losing reality. And we can feel even worse because, again, we're not meeting what this meme's telling us to do. And social media can be a really damaging one for this, when we tend to look at this a lot. And you know, someone who says, "Oh, just stay positive, everything's going to be okay." Well, that's great, thank you. You know, no offence to them, they're trying to help, but at the end of the day, we need something more than that. And the last one is, no, failure isn't the problem. It's our perception of the word failure. Failure has been demonised, and this doesn't help. So it's okay to fail, and this is one of the reasons why people get so scared about failing, is because it's seen as a bad thing. Failure actually helps us learn stuff, but it also may not learn anything. More effective, I'll put these ones up. Now, the reason I've put these ones up is because one of the simplest and quickest ways to reappraise a situation is using humour. David Rock, the Neuro Leadership Institute, he's done a lot of work on reappraisal, and this is the simplest one, is we just look at the humorous side of things. Again, this is not always going to be appropriate, but when we're under stress, when we're threatened, we're caught in the emotional part of our brain, and it's very hard to think. Use our executive part to actually analyse or rationally think through something. So one of the easiest ways is to just look at the lighter side of something. One of the things that really helps us to step forward in the chaos is being vulnerable. We get this idea of perfection, but perfection was left on the rocks with the unicorns. And being vulnerable is we don't know it all, is one thing. Accepting it, we can't do it all. And we suck at a lot. I mean, everyone does, and we've got to get over this idea that we need to prove ourselves that we're great in front of everybody. And this is a really big part of leadership in the workplace, is vulnerability. It's a really powerful connector to people, because it's showing that, you know, I don't know everything, I need your help, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to be not good at something. So when I do my Beyond Blue talks, a lot of vulnerability is shown by other people. I get up there and talk about my own experiences, and that actually encourages people to open up and talk about their own experiences. So all of a sudden we've got this psychological safety building within our workplace where people feel comfortable sharing. It might be sharing ideas. It doesn't have to be problems. It can be, I've got an idea for something, and if I share an idea or maybe a solution, I'm not going to get shot down and told that that's just stupid and therefore, well, I'm not going to contribute again and just live in this threatened environment. So one of the ways that I help build people's vulnerability up, and I was hoping to do this on this program, but obviously 143 people on the other end, it's a bit hard to have audio the other way, but unexpected questions, disagreements can really ramp up that survival intensity really quick. We get stressed. Someone asks us a question, oh geez, or they disagree with us. We can suddenly build this, we can get caught up in our own little bubble that we talked about. And that's because our emotional part of our brain has taken over. So I help people think on their feet. And this is just having activities where you just say, well, can you tell me about your favourite sport, or can you tell me about you were the first person on Mars, tell us what that was like. What this does is it helps us manage our fears of being judged, looking silly and taking risks, because what it does is it develops our confidence, creativity. It's using all these front parts of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, which are important for that short-term memory for making sense in the moment and being able to make good decisions in the stressful times, because we're able to access that part of our brain that helps us do all that, because otherwise we're just trapped in that emotional response, which is a survival response. So if this is something you want to introduce and get people to stand up in front of your teams and just share ideas and talk about something they've been doing in the week, if you can get people to talk confidently in front of other people, it's going to actually help them a lot with all their communication skills and everything like that. So usually in a course, I'll tell people if their mobile phone goes off while I'm talking, I get them to stand up and do one of these activities, and they usually all jump to their phones and make sure they're turned off and hidden in a bubble, hidden in a box somewhere so they don't make a sound. One of the other ways is we need to own our stuff to deal with it. Because if we don't own it, we don't deal with it, and we'll never be free of it. So this is one of the really key things that I find, that a lot of people run around hiding responsibility and accountability. We've seen that a lot in the, whether it's the hotel quarantine, whether it's any of the royal commissions that have been run. There's a lot of people avoiding responsibility. And what it does is, if we own it and take control of it, we can help lower our intensity, because certainty helps us calm down our brain. We take more control. And to reinforce my idea is that, someone owns that car, someone owns that house, and someone owns that dog. At the end of the day, you might not like it, but if someone said, this is my car, I can do whatever I want with it. I can put a bunch of teddy bears on it. So being a calming influence is also not being trapped in their bubble. So don't own other people's stuff. Be there as a support, coach, guide, empower. Don't be trapped in other people's stuff, because you're going to run out of, if you get to show too much empathy, if you show too much concern, or you just try and be everybody's solution, it's going to overwhelm you, and it's going to make it difficult to manage your own stress. So you can insert whatever you want there. Keep calm and ignore the drama or the gossip. I'm not going to buy into that. Someone's telling you a story. Keep calm and listen, support, but don't get caught up in the emotion. In the police force, when I was there, empathy was really important, but more cognitive empathy, which is trying to understand how people are thinking, because if you show too much emotional empathy, you can't make the difficult decisions that might affect other people. Now, I told you I was going to share some resources at the end about where to go to for mental health. These are just some of the resources out there. As I said, the awareness there's no shortage of awareness, but it's up to you if you want to go out and actually understand it more than just know the stats, know the mental health's an issue, know that stress management's an issue, know that you're struggling. It's really understanding, well, what can you do about it? But the one I'm going to actually just draw your attention to a bit more is Heads Up, which is part of Beyond Blue initiative, and it's all to do with the workplace. So you may or may not have heard of it, but I really encourage you to go and have a look at this website. It's specific to workplaces. There's the website there. You can either go straight to it or go through the Beyond Blue website. Employers, employees, managers, small business, healthy workplaces, talks about your mental health, how you can support others, and there's loads of training and resources there as well. So, and there's even a section on coronavirus to help us manage all that stuff. So I really encourage that. And these are 3 books that I recommend that have been really useful for me. You've got Your Brain at Work, which is David Rock, and this is his updated version, and basically it talks to a professional couple and through their day and strategies for overcoming distractions. It talks about how do they cope with all the intensity of the workplace, the workload, decisions, planning, just staying ahead of the storm. So it talks about it from a brain science perspective. Atomic Habits, how do we build habits? Talking about the small little things building up over time. And then the last one is basically Daniel Goleman and co on emotional intelligence. So this goes to the heart of emotional intelligence from leadership, and this is the updated version. So the original book was a bit older, but this is an updated version, and it's really powerful for understanding how to emotional intelligence from your own perspective, and also how to lead other people with emotional intelligence. So what now? When it comes to becoming influence and supporting mental health, you see there the pep talks, the buzzwords, the slogans, the posters, the high-level statements, or talking it up one day or 1 month a year is not enough. We need to make this a long-term approach. You need to build it into every day, because it takes time to create these new connections. It takes time to build this understanding. You need to look at it from a perspective, okay, I'm not in it for the quick fix. The quick fixes help, definitely, but what are you going to do in the longer term to be a calmer influence on not just yourself, but everyone else around you? And we know that the hardest steps are also usually our most powerful as well. So the awareness, the understanding, but then we get to the intent. We come up with these ideas, but then we've actually got to put it into practice, and that's where some of those books can help you understand that a bit better as well. And the final slide for today is wise words from Charlie Chaplin. A day without laughter is a day wasted. And I've actually got this up on my wall. I know you can't see me, but I assure you it's on my wall because you've probably worked out a sense of humour is really important to me, and it's one of the things that's really helped me put things into perspective and help me manage my stress and be a calmer influence. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. We've got a bit of time now for some questions, so I'll hand back to Stephanie, and thanks very much for your attention.
All right, thank you, Garry. So we'll now take questions from the audience. So please type and submit your questions via the questions pane on your control panel. While questions are coming in, Garry, I'll just remind everyone that today is the first day of WorkSafe month, and there's still time to register for other webinars that are running. So please go to the WorkSafe month website to register for those sessions. So a couple of comments and questions coming in, Garry. So thank you. I enjoyed the session and got a lot out of it. A question, Garry. What are your thoughts re mental health first aid training?
Yeah, good question. I've actually done the course myself, and yeah, look, I think it's good. I did learn some, even though I sort of been putting a lot of time and energy into mental health prior to it. I think it's definitely worth doing it. It just gives you a even if you only learn one thing out of it, I think it's quite a useful course to do. And you know, at the end of the day, it's coming from evidence-based research and people who know their stuff. And you know, it's one more tool that we can use to actually help support people and also understand mental health from our own perspective a bit more too.
Thanks, Garry. We've had a number of other comments coming in, just thanking you for your time. That it was a good session. A question though: where can I get more information on cognitive empathy?
Yeah, David. Yeah, absolutely. So David Goleman, the guy who wrote is the emotional intelligence guide. He if you put in Daniel Goleman and 3 types of empathy as a Google search, that'll actually bring up some material that he's written about it. So you've got cognitive empathy, you've got emotional empathy, and you've got compassionate empathy. So cognitive is understanding how people are thinking or their point of view. Emotionally is feeling somebody's experience, and then compassionate is when you actually put that all together and help people find a solution or get support. So it's a really useful way to understand empathy a bit deeper.
Thanks, Garry. Another question: do you set time aside each day for calming activities?
Absolutely, yeah. So I do meditation. I've been doing that for a while now, and actually bought a machine. It's called Muse, which is spelled M-U-S-E, and you put it on your head, and it's actually a biofeedback and gives you feedback for your brain signals and teaches you more effectively how to meditate. And I find that really useful. And I also do a stretching yoga session every day. That's an app, and it's good for my body, but also I tend to meditate or mindfulness when I'm doing that. But definitely I really focus on where my body and my thoughts are at. It's getting in touch with your thoughts and emotions, and when you start to feel that stress and just think, okay, do I have to push through, or can I actually just go outside and have a 5-minute walk in the fresh air? Because when we start to feel our sense of calmness starting to get overwhelmed, we can actually, just by moving and getting some fresh air and putting your brain into a different pattern of activity, which is simply by just going for a walk, can actually help you reset to a degree, so you can actually start to be a bit calmer.
Thanks, Garry. There's still time to submit your questions via the questions pane for Gaz to answer. Another question that has come through: you mentioned the S to give box. I hope you know what I mean, Garry. Was the care factor part? What was the S given box? I missed that part.
Yeah, so the S is the S-H-I-T. That's what it spells. You know, it's like we say. I'm actually going to. Is it okay if I just use the word once or twice, Stephanie, or I won't if you don't want me to?
No, go ahead.
So, yeah. So there's so many things we give a shit about, and what we do if the 2 boxes. So I've got this reserves of you know, where I project my emotions, where I project my it might be a frustration. I might project I'm really excited about that. So, or I'm really frustrated about that. So it might be your footy team loses on the weekend, or the Donald Trump wins the election again. I don't know. whatever it is, and you get really overwhelmed by it. It means you're giving too much of a shit about it. Okay, and what we do is that if we give too much of a shit about one thing, it can take away a lot of the internal strategies that we can use to manage other things that come along. Because if I'm just all focused and all my energy and emotion is on one particular thing, it might be a change at work, or it might be a particular person at work. It only takes one little thing to tip me over the edge, because I just don't have anything left to give. My cortisol levels are through the roof. So what that's about is some of these vulnerability and owning it, and the other things we talked about is when I feel like I'm really ramped up and caring too much about some things and not caring enough about some other things. I've got to somehow regulate that back to having some stuff in reserve, like some shits to give in reserve, because otherwise I've just got nothing left to give. And when you get to that point, you just tip over, because that's the overwhelmed state. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, Gary, the comment has come through to say that yes, that does make sense.
Right. Okay. Fantastic.
All right. There have been no further questions come through, so I'll start to wrap up. Having said that, if there is a question that comes to mind, please do type it through before the session does end. So thank you, Gaz Mills, Founding Director of Garry Mills Peak Performance, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Become and Calming Influence Inside the Chaos. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. We would appreciate your feedback. Today's webinar has been recorded and will be made available at the end of WorkSafe month. On behalf of WorkSafe Tasmania and the WorkCover Tasmania board, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.